Wandavision. Hey, what's going on? My name is Jeffrey Vision. I'm joined tonight by Bob Rose. Welcome to the Jeff Show. I guess that's what the title of this show is. It's the Jeff Show. And
it's not from us.
Yeah. Well, at the beginning of this thing, at the beginning of this pandemic situation, I was just bored. And I was like, I have nothing to talk about, but I just want to be live because it's just something to do. Right. And so I started watching movies live. Like, for instance, I might be the only person in history that watched Grease 2 and The Greasy Strangler at the same time.
Hey man, I kind of love Grease 2.
It's so much better.
I'm a fan of Grease 2.
Yeah. So much bebetter. So much better.
And The Greasy Strangler, but that's a obvious.
Yes.
Come on.
Yes. Nice shoes, Renton. He says, nice shoes, Oinker. I rented them. Right. But yeah, so I started. Why was I even talking about that in the first place? I completely forget. I lost my.
So you started streaming because you were bored and then you had nothing to do and then you wanted to just be live.
Yeah. Basically. Yeah. And it led to this. And so Bob and I have actually never met. This is the first time I've actually seen Bob alive, like a live Bob.
You've never seen like video of me at all, right?
No. We've never met. We've never actually met in person either.
We've never been at a film festival the same time or something like that.
It's possible, but it's possible.
We didn't talk though in real life. Yeah.
Were you at Genre Blast 2018?
I was at 2019.
Yeah. So we did not. No, we've never
crossed
the same place at the time. No, but we met. We did a podcast together, blind. It was like a blind podcast date with our friend Nathan, and we talked about it was actually a really good time. We talked about Dunstan Checks In for like 90 minutes. Man.
Yeah, we dug in deep and we went in some weird tangents off that like initial branch of Dunstan, but because he has the podcast is all about 1996.
Right.
I don't know. Has that been released? I'm not sure if that's released yet.
I have not seen it. I don't.
He might be busy with worst laid plans, which that's probably why. But it's a good reason to be busy.
It's a great reason to be busy, and I'm sure he'll get around to it at some point. But we were just doing also. Oh, you know what it was? Now I remember. It was we were remaking, and we did this a little bit later, remaking stuff, in like crazy demented ways. And so
right.
My idea was to do Dunstan Checks In, but as Edgar Allan Poe's Murders at the Rue Morgue, where Dunstan is murdering people with a straight razor. That was we talked about that. That was a good fun.
I think mine was like Dunstan Checks In with 1408 and the cross between the two.
Yes, that was awesome. Awesome. So Bob and I, we had good mojo, and I was like, I was waiting for Bob for something. I was like, Bob commented on my thing. I said, perfect, because that's how impromptu this stuff is. I hop on. I don't care if anybody's watching. I know it'll get watched later. We gotta keep that engine moving and grooving. I just hit 2K subscribers, so I'm feeling pretty good. A whole 2K. I know it's not a lot. It's a drop in the bucket. Sahara says that her tears aren't even done drying yet from watching
the finale. Right.
Yeah.
Same.
There's a lot to talk about. There is so much to talk about. I'll tell you what, Bob. Well, first of all, Bob.
Yes.
Why don't you explain for whatever audience watches this, who you are, what you do, and where they can find you, because you have your own brand of stuff on the internet. Please talk about that for a moment.
I mean, just keep it simple. Just like every other person, I'm a filmmaker and a podcaster. My YouTube channel, it pretty much has everything on it, which is youtube.com/thundergrunt. And you can just look up Bob Rose, and I am like the second down after Bob Ross, the painter, comes up. Like there's Bob Ross, and then there's me.
Dude,
so,
you are.
If you look up my name, not his name, not his name, but my name. If you look up my name, he's still number one under my name. But yeah, I'm the second. And my podcast is a multi-show podcast called Thunder Grunt, which also has its own YouTube channel.
What does that mean? multi-show? I like this idea. But
so it's a singular. So it's a podcast that you can subscribe to as one thing, but there's several shows on the one feed. It's a way for me to save money. And originally, before the pandemic hit, it was I was giving my friends who are not technically inclined a place to have shows, and also that I could do any type of show that I wanted because I can just create shows at a whim. So that it's a singular podcast with several shows, and mostly movie oriented. But we used to have a conspiracy theory podcast. We have a D&D one. And I have a bad movie podcast, and I do a script podcast with Jimmy George and Jamie Nash. I don't know if you know who they are.
Oh, I know. Oh, yeah, I know Jimmy George. Jimmy George is a great friggin' dude, and he worked with that's Chris's
Chris LaMartina. Him and Chris, they most famously made WNUF. Yeah,
right. Yeah, I know Jimmy. Jimmy's a great guy. Oh, wait a minute. You do the Writing Blockbuster show.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
I do, with Jamie, and Jamie Nash is Ed Sanchez's co-writer, Ed Sanchez of Blair Witch fame.
Wow.
And Jamie just released a book on for Save the Cat, literally a Save the Cat official book on TV writing. So
okay, I gotta ask you a question, Bob. Yes. You're gonna love this question. You're gonna love this question.
Go ahead.
We're supposed to be talking about WandaVision, Bob. We're going to talk about Reanimator for a second. Okay. We're going to talk about Reanimator.
I love Reanimator.
I love Reanimator too. My question to you is, and I love asking people this question: does Herbert West save the cat?
It's a good question,
right?
I don't need to. Do I need to answer that? I think
no. You don't have to answer it. It's like kind of rhetorical, but it's like amazing. It's I think it's like an amazing question because it's like wait a minute, like does he save the cat? How does? Well, here's the thing though. When I mean not literally.
I mean like according to the rules of the book, save the cat. I would say yes.
Huh.
But also in the you're talking. I get the joke, but.
Well, I mean, in terms of like his likability as a character, like we love Ripley because she goes back for her cat. You know, well, that's one of the reasons why we love Ripley, but she goes back for her cat. You know, does Herbert West? I mean, Herbert West is demented in his when he brings dead things back to life. It's a fetish. It's a fetish for him. He fetishizes the experiment.
The character's motivation, actually detracts from his likability.
I think so. I mean, well, no, it just means he's not a hero and he's not a villain and he's not even, I don't even know if he's an anti-hero. He is just he's just a dude who is on a quest and we're rooting.
In this situation, I just would say someone like Herbert West is the protagonist. It's the cleanest way to say it. Like,
he's the protagonist.
Yeah, right. And there's a lot, I think that sometimes people don't understand that the protagonist doesn't need to be the hero or the good guy. He's just the protagonist. That's a common mistake, but it's basic stuff. But a lot of people don't know that. But Herbert West is the protagonist, whether you like him or not. I think that's the audience's decision.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. But it's just interesting how like we don't know how the cat died in the first place. Did Herbert? It's always implied that not implied, but it's suspected that it might have been Herbert West who let that cat expire in order to experiment on the cat. It's never said. He gives an explanation. He says the cat got its head stuck in a jar. Right. He said, what was I supposed to do? Leave you a note, cat dead, details later. And we're supposed to take that at face value. But as we know, Herbert West has a way of getting himself into trouble.
The movie itself will inform your decision of what happened then. You know what I mean? Like your own personal, like everybody comes to their own decision of what he actually did there.
Yes. So in that case, I think that he allowed that cat to expire. The cat might have gotten its head caught in a jar, but he allowed it to happen because, how convenient. I can bring this cat back to life.
If I had to bet with a gun to my head, I would say, yes, you are right. He let it happen. He doesn't have much care for life. That the movie does not convey that. It just doesn't. No. Yeah.
Which is why when he says that I'm doing this because, for science, for medical science and save people, that's the excuse that he uses to do this thing that frankly feels like a fetish. It's like not necessarily.
I've never heard. Yeah, I was gonna say I've never heard fetish used for that movie. But.
Here's the thing. I think you can fetish something. You could fetishize something without it doesn't have to be sexual per se. I'm sure probably the textbook definition is going to say it's related to sex, but
he's kind of got that mad scientist like comedic obsession on something. Like, you know what I mean? Like Doc Brown is obsessed.
It's a compulsion.
When we first meet him. Compulsion.
It's a compulsion. Yeah. It's a compulsion.
It's not sexual, right?
And it's a non-sexual fetishized compulsion to bring things back from the dead. And ultimately, when he does bring that cat back to life the second time, it is not to save the cat. It is to show Dan what he can do.
Right.
And therefore, I guess actually he doesn't save the cat. When I'm thinking about it right now, I don't think he saves the cat at all. He proves that he proves that even though he might be a protagonist, he is a bad guy. And that's WandaVision.
WandaVision. It's a really difficult question. Seriously.
Yeah.
It's fun. That's good, man. I never heard that.
Yeah. Just to get our brains.
Brains
spinning.
Now I kind of want to watch Reanimator.
Oh yeah, I did that. I did it the day that Stuart Gordon died. I think was the last time, and I did it live here. But I didn't have this sort of format yet. I was still.
Do you know what I watched the day he died?
What did you?
Space Truckers.
Yes,
which I absolutely love. I love Space Truckers.
I have some really good news for you, then, Bob.
What?
Do you know what's getting a deluxe kitchen sink, like primo release? Like
Shout Factory
this year, not from Shout Factory, from Wicked Vision Media.
Oh, I'm gonna guess Space Truckers.
Space Truckers, baby.
Hell yes,
it's coming. And hold on, real quick, before we start talking about WandaVision, Bob, fill the dead air. 1 second. Fill the
dead air. What can I say? This is awkward. Space Truckers is kind of a unique movie in that it's completely cartoonish, but yet it's got moments of extreme body horror. It's like kind of a body horror comedy in some ways. Like everything with the Space Truckers. There's
a little bit.
I think everything with Charles Dance is absolutely grotesque, in my opinion. Yeah. But also like the color palette. He's so great. He's so great. I love Charles Dance so much. And I've never even watched Game of Thrones.
Oh wow. The only thing that doesn't work in Space Truckers, or I should say hasn't aged well in Space Truckers, is some of that late 90s CGI is atrocious to look at, but it's an easy thing to overlook at because Space Truckers
I'm okay with it.
Fun. Yeah, it's just such a fun, awesome movie.
When I watch like old movies, that's great. When I watch like movies of that era, I'm totally fine with bad CGI. You know what I mean? It's kind of, to me, it's
for
just
the most part, me too.
Yeah, like when I watch Escape from LA, do I care about the opening with the the submarine? Oh my god, it's terrible. So the shark and the submarine is awful, but I love that movie. You know what I mean?
It's so great, and so is Lost
plane
in Space,
crash,
the movie.
Oh, Lost in Space, yeah. The plane crash in Air Force One.
Yeah, okay, that's pretty yikes. That's pretty
that's really bad.
This is Wicked Vision. Yeah. They put out these gorgeous media book style releases. Look at
that's
it.
Beautiful.
This is Necronomicon by Brian Yuzna, and it is impossible to get in the United States. So this is from Europe. This is the German release, but it's Region 0.
Awesome.
So all of their releases are Region 0, and from my understanding, Space Truckers is about to get a treatment just
like that.
Just like that. That's why I wanted to show it to you because I figured you appreciate that.
I will buy that. I will purchase that.
That's number 138 out of 150.
Nice.
So yeah, I can't recommend them enough. I'll tag you in the thing.
Sure. I think I might own something by them, but I am sadly quarantined away from my Blu-ray collection. So
that is really sad, and I'm sorry.
It is sad. Yeah.
Okay, so WandaVision. It's been 14 minutes. Right? It's been 14 minutes. We haven't talked about WandaVision. Wow. I got to tell you, first of all, I really, overall, absolutely loved it. Obviously.
Same. I'm in the same boat on this one. You might have a slight advantage over me too here because I watched it real time release. Like,
right.
I've been watching it. I haven't revisited it. I just watched it every night it was released for the last 9 weeks.
Right.
So you might be slightly fresher on a few things, but I plan to rewatch. I do.
It's first of all, I would say these are a couple of observations here.
Yes.
Number one, it's like Disney Plus was like, or Star Wars within the Disney Plus or Disney realm, whatever you want to call it, because Star Wars and Disney are separate. Sorry, Star Wars and Marvel are separate. No. Star Wars and Marvel are separate under the Disney blanket. They're both Disney, but they're both have their own ecosystems. And so Star Wars was like, hey, check out my Mandalorian. Everybody's like, oh, Mandalorian, it's awesome. And then Marvel's like, oh, okay, hold my beer. It's our turn. Disney Plus, boom, give you WandaVision, which just, wow. Like, I mean, they're both great.
They really
like,
did dominate two different shows one after another. I got to give it to them. You don't want to congratulate Disney, but you did it,
dude.
Like,
you know what?
Totally
Actually, it's the big 9-headed Hydra that can't be defeated. I've learned to accept and embrace Disney for what it is, and I'm okay with it, man. I'm okay. And frankly, if we're getting quality movie grade television series like The Mandalorian and WandaVision now, I mean, what a track record they are establishing.
Mandalorian was like $20 million an episode. They better look like, they better. They're 20 or 24 or something like that per.
I did not know that.
I gotta imagine WandaVision is somewhere like maybe half of that. I can't imagine it was 20 per, but these are they're movies. If you take the entire, that's a movie.
Right. I mean, because they're half-hour shows. So if you stitch them all together, it's like a Avengers Endgame style movie, right? Yeah. So that's literally what they did. They're like, Marvel quarantine hits, and Marvel's like, all right, we're gonna do a WandaVision movie, but we're gonna chop it up into 9 parts, serve it up to via Disney Plus. Because if you sew those together, it's going to feel like the coolest, craziest, kookiest film ever, and it's just gonna fly by. Because
you couldn't do that. While to me the structure and the act structure and everything of the entire thing is feels like a movie, I don't know how well the TV format thing would have flown in a theater had it been done as a movie. Like, it needed to be a TV show for the actual content. That's like the rare thing. Like Mandalorian, you probably could have made 2 Mandalorian movies, but you can't. This had to be a TV show. It only works like that.
It's a weird paradox it's a very, very weird paradox when you could never release a film as a 10-hour movie and be like, here, go to the movies and watch a 10-hour movie. Right. And yet Netflix can release a dramatized serial drama that's 60-minute episodes, and people will sit and binge watch them. In a single night.
I find that phenomenon interesting in that also, like, I feel like movies are now this weird spot, like kind of what you just said, but like, people want to either watch like TikToks or, like you said, like 15 episodes of a 60-minute per episode show, but they don't want 90 minutes is hard to concentrate. It's weird. It's like,
what is that?
I don't know. I think somebody who's way better at like sociology and something could figure that out, but that's where we are.
It's just the way our minds, it's the way that the internet has wired our minds for incredibly short bursts or incredibly long, long-winded, throw this on in the background or sit and
it's like we all have to think, like, when we're sitting down for a story, we're like the Fellowship of the Ring. Like, you're sitting down and you're like, okay, I shall now impart on this journey, and you're mentally trained to concentrate. And Mordor is the last episode, like that's is that a terrible metaphor?
This is true, but I'll also say this, like, at the same time, if I start watching Star Wars, if I start watching a great example, I can't just watch Empire Strikes Back and go, okay, that was really fun. Like, no, I have to finish with Return of the Jedi. Yeah, I have to see Return of the Jedi at minimum, because what I need is I need that closure. And it's the same reason why I mean, it started off as one movie to begin with, but how could anybody watch? I hate it when people go, what's your favorite Kill Bill? Is it volume 1 or volume 2? It's like, no,
The whole bloody affair, man. It's a whole bloody affair.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah,
it's a whole goddamn bloody affair. You can't just stop at one or the other. It's like it's a 1-2 punch. And so
you know what though, with Grindhouse, I can watch both separately and not have to watch them together.
That makes sense. By the way, observation I've had in the last few years about From Dusk Till Dawn is Grindhouse before Grindhouse. And if you think about it,
totally
at exactly that 1 hour mark, it goes from being Tarantino crime thriller to Robert Rodriguez crime action to action monster movie. Robert
who could disagree with that assessment? It is that.
Like, I mean, that is literally what it is. It is the first half is all Tarantino, second half is all Rodriguez. Even though Rodriguez directed the whole thing and Tarantino wrote the whole thing, it's segmented in this way, and it just makes. And I was talking about this with someone, and I was saying, have you ever had the luxury of showing From Dusk Till Dawn to someone who didn't
the first time?
Yeah, who didn't know the twist. And I did have that pleasure. I vicariously got to watch their surprise as that reveal happens, which is
did they dig it? Did they actually?
Oh yeah,
I've known people who did not embrace that change. I know people who don't.
That's
I can't imagine it myself because I love it, but and when I was a kid, seeing that originally I saw it on television for the first time in like the late 90s. Blew my mind because I didn't know. I had no clue. I didn't even know who like Tarantino or Rodriguez were. I was like, oh, it's George Clooney.
I will never forget. It was either 96. When did it come out on? Whenever it came out on VHS, it was either late 96 or early 97. Maybe it was early 97.
If it's 96, that means Nathan's going to do an episode.
Yeah, that's right. I said to him, I want that episode. I said, I want to sink my teeth.
I want Frighteners slightly more, but.
Oh, Frighteners would be great as well. You got to read. I wrote an article about Frighteners. I think you would.
I will read it. Send it to me.
Sahara says, according to Google, it was $25 million per episode for WandaVision.
Holy shit! I was wrong.
Disney was like Mandalorian is kicking ass. Like, let's now do this with Disney. We need a good setup. And what's more ingenious than the show is literally called WandaVision. I mean, the title is just the juxtaposition of these two names,
but it's like 3-layered meaning and everything.
3-layered meaning.
Yeah, it's great.
Wonderful. Yeah. Is it 3? It's 2-layer meaning. No, 3-layer, I guess, because it's like television, WandaVision. Then it's the name Wanda and Vision,
and then it's Wanda's Vision. So it's 4. Yeah, it's a pretty ingenious title.
It's so great. It's so great and so simple, and it just works. And I had no idea what to expect going in. I've watched all the movies,
Before we actually talk about what happened, something I find interesting about what happened in the last 9 weeks because of the actual world and what's happening in the world is that we don't need to discuss all the fan theories and stuff that came about for the show. I'm sure you've read some of them, and some people lost their minds.
Completely blind.
Okay, you went blind. So people
tell me what's going. Yeah, tell me what they were.
People over those last 9 weeks, especially with the introduction. This is spoilers, right? We can say spoilers.
Go ahead. Yeah, no, full spoilers.
Full spoilers. With the introduction of the Fox Quicksilver in that episode.
Oh, that was awesome.
That turn, it was already leading up to people starting to theorize where the show was going and what it's going to mean. Is it going to be House of M? Is all that going to happen?
Dude, I totally thought it was going to be House of M.
House of M, right. Everyone was just snowballing. And then when he showed up, I feel like it exploded. There was I had got invited to 3 Facebook groups that were all just spoiler discussion. People were going insane. Oh my God, what is it? Mephisto's going to show up. This guy's this, you know what I mean? And I realized something. I was in the end, when we got to episode 8, I was like, oh, this is just a small story about grief. And we all are so actually grieving in our own lives. We created a TV show that actually didn't exist.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? We wanted to, because people were theorizing insane things that were going to happen in the last 3 episodes.
I have something to say about this, and maybe
go ahead.
Maybe this could be in part a blind spot for you because you mentioned that you've never watched Game of Thrones. I think
I haven't. No.
So this is a carryover of Game of Thrones itis, in the sense where every week we would theorize, and the same thing with Breaking Bad too. Every week we would sit and go, oh my God, what's going to happen? And you have all the books and the YouTube videos, and there's so much like material to draw from, and like, so much source material to theorize on, and yada, yada, yada. And so we would just be like, we would just be theorizing. And you know what? I got to tell you, some of them were really out there, but just in the same way that when you buy a ticket to the lottery that you're not going to win, you're not just paying. What you're doing is you're paying for the opportunity to dream in a way where it could actually become a reality because of the fact that you bought a ticket, even though it's most likely you're not going to win. And
it's like the off-screen story is also what we're getting here. Like the thing that'll never happen is also somehow entertaining us.
Right. You are additionally being part of the fun of the show, is talking about it at the water cooler the next day, and what's going to happen, and coming up with hot takes, and letting your imagination run wild, in the same way that a great example, like I talk about this quite often. One of my favorite films, I love Reanimator. I also love Return of the Living Dead. And one of my favorite things.
Who doesn't love Return of the Living Dead? I mean,
right.
It's perfect. So
it's perfect. It's a perfect talk about screenplays. And that's a screenplay book you should check out as well. Dan O'Bannon's screenplay book. But I have actually taken the time to sit and write about who the Tar Man was before how he got in that barrel. I wrote a whole comic like that, an outline for a comic that takes place before, during the events of Return of the Living Dead, like what the Tar Man is doing. And like, this idea that the Tar Man is actually this really like sulky, like sort of shy character that when he gets really hungry, he gets aggressive, but is actually like this really tragic, woeful, like sad creature that pathetic, like this pathetic being that just is like, fuck, I'm like melting, I'm hungry, and it sucks.
That's like a great prequel comic, like you know what I mean, like something you'd read before you watch the movie.
Yes,
or something like that. That'd be great.
Yes, and so I had kind of, but my point is that like, that's part of the fun when a movie doesn't ram exposition down your throat, or a movie keeps you guessing, or a show keeps you guessing, or they give you just enough to be curious, and they let you write as much stuff as you want in your head. And then obviously it's always the Occam's razor, like the most likely scenario, or it's, nothing you were expecting.
In this case too, I also feel like they're playing, they know that it's going to happen, and they're playing with us. I do feel like there's some kind of like cat playing with a toy, and we happen to be the toy here. Like, with like Pietro specifically, I think that was obviously a curveball they knew was going to throw a wrench in everyone's mind.
I was let down. I wanted it to be from another dimension, and in my mind,
I think that everyone kind of does, because he's kind of the most awesome piece of those movies. Like
he was fun in that.
He's really fun.
X-Men movie he was in. He was great. I enjoyed that.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't, even the movies I don't like I don't like the movie, but his actual scenes are always kind of awesome.
Yeah.
Like, so it would be nice if he kept being Quicksilver. I want that. They know I want that, and they used it. It was
a bit of a mindfuck red herring that just was, I don't know. Like
I did think that him being a dick joke, though, oddly feels like something that Quicksilver would do. Like, there's still hope to me somewhere in the back of my mind, like he might actually still be that Pietro, and at some point he got to choose his own name for this universe, and he chose Boner as a joke.
In that Fox universe, he's kind of like that, the way you described. But it's funny. I read Marvel. So here's the interesting thing, and this is why I was really digging WandaVision and some of the basis from WandaVision. You mentioned House of M. Are you familiar? Are you a comic book reader, familiar with the general?
I read House of M, but okay, like I don't retain it. It's been since like release. So
what's interesting is, and around 2000, maybe it was 2003 when it happened. They did a book called Avenger Disassembled. And what it was,
I remember that.
Okay, so this was a huge event in the Marvel universe, because what happens is, actually, I don't exactly remember what happens because I read it, as you said, just the way that you watched it in real time. I read this, like 17 years ago. I don't remember what it. Here, the basic gist is this: the Scarlet Witch. You know what it was? It ushered in the modern, or at least it was modern at that time. I'm sure it's not modern anymore. It ushered in a brand new age of Marvel storytelling that was primarily led by Brian Michael Bendis, who was not only doing the 616 universe stuff, but he was also doing the alternate universe stuff. He was doing a whole bunch of stuff. Brian Michael Bendis was like the rock star of the early aughts, and he came up with this idea where Scarlet Witch essentially is like just so incredible. She has cosmic level powers. They just in the way that over the years, Wolverine went from being a guy who could kind of heal fast to a dude who literally is incinerated all but his skeleton, and he regenerates in 2 seconds.
I mean, like, Superman used to be able to just jump.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's how these things happen, So it changes over time.
So Scarlet Witch became this being that's capable of basically rewriting reality, and that's what House of M was, as you know. And then again, they went to her. They said, we just wish there were no more mutants or something. So she's like, fine, and she basically wipes all the mutants from existence, only leaving 198. And so mutants become, that's the decimation arc, and humans become mutants become an endangered species. And so that's what when I started watching WandaVision, I'm going, oh, this is like as you said, it's a very contained story. That's what I felt like we were getting. I was like, they are adapting House of M, which is just a ginormous
but
scope.
When I think about, I actually was thinking the same thing, but now when I look back on it, I feel foolish, because I was like, what did I think they were going to do in 5 more episodes? I don't know. Like, I was like, I didn't think they were actually going to tackle that when they had all character. There's so much character story that they have to get through. I was like, what did I think? I should know better than to think that something of that size would be tackled in this show, in this half-hour show.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
Mean, especially because they haven't even introduced Magneto in this universe. Like, how would they do? I mean, it could just be House of something else, but it just, I don't know. But
I think we're all waiting for them to introduce, because it's weirdly we know that they purchased it.
Yes,
they purchased it. So
the mutants. It's called the mutants. It's coming.
It'll be here, but this wasn't it.
Yeah, and I love what the show was brilliant for so many reasons. It harped on all of our pop culture, loving strings. Like, we love, our generation or whatever, we get off on meta stuff. We get off on, revisiting pop culture and nostalgia. And this was like, okay, instead of just like, trying to do what Jon Favreau was doing, like by really what J.J. Abrams took advantage with, but Jon Favreau actually dialed in the right amount. This idea of doing like a nostalgic type Star Wars. Sorry, my language is not that.
No, I got you. He kind of had a tour de force of like the OT. Like, he like, it wasn't like Mandalorian is not the original trilogy. Right. It feels like the original trilogy, though. It feels like something that would have been on television when that was airing.
But it's not like JJ. JJ is just like,
I'll do it again.
Like, well, no, but JJ is like not just doing a requel, but also just like shoving. Like, it's funny. People are like, oh, fuck this movie. It's not even that good. Oh, look what's happening right now. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Like
member berries. Member
berries. But at the same time, but here's the thing. And
I'm not a big fan of JJ, so
no, I'm not the biggest fan of him either. And here's the thing about Star Wars, and this is what ultimately, I don't know where you stand on The Last Jedi, the polarization of The Last Jedi.
You know what? I can tell you really quick.
Yeah,
I was the guy who I was lukewarm on Force Awakens, because I walked out and I was like, well, if we're just going to redo everything, I was like, this bores me. Then I loved The Last Jedi. I was one of those people that loved The Last Jedi, but then I absolutely loathe Rise of Skywalker. We don't need to get into it, but now I don't even really like The Last Jedi because it's a sandwich with 2 moldy pieces of bread.
Okay, gotcha.
And now the whole thing just sucks because they didn't plan anything out. So I don't really care that The Last Jedi is great, in my opinion. I'm just like, the whole thing's bunk. If anything, the only Disney Star Wars film I really love is Solo, honestly, and that's weird.
Loved Solo. No, loved Solo.
But I don't think we're in the minority there. I don't think people feel like that. So
I think Rogue One was the best of all the new films that they.
I'm not the biggest fan of Rogue One, but it's a beautiful movie. I don't like that director. I don't like that director, anything he's made. But it's a beautiful movie, and it's got some great stuff in it.
Real quick about the Star Wars thing. So I am
sorry.
Polar. No, it's okay. Polar opposite from you. I really, really, really loathe The Last Jedi. Because here's the thing.
I think you said that on another episode of your show. I was watching. Yeah, I think I remember that. Yeah,
I hate The Last Jedi.
Yes,
but I want to clarify that because it's so much more complicated. It's
a lot. We could have another show where we talk about
yes. And we're going to go back to WandaVision in a second, but it pertains to it in the same way, in a similar sort of sense.
Okay.
The thing about the thing that really bothers me about The Last Jedi is that, again, and it's not Rian Johnson's fault. But at the same time, it's like he showed up to a Led Zeppelin concert and didn't play Stairway to Heaven. He played like an obscure B-side from a Pavement album.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and so a lot of people, myself included, are like, dude, just do Stairway to Heaven, man. Like, it's the middle part of the trilogy. Just Stairway to Heaven. What are you doing?
The weird part of how it all worked out, and I don't think anyone's wrong per se, because I have close friends who I very much disagree with, but it's like, it came down to one question: what do we want from Star Wars?
That's true.
And apparently, I wanted something different at that point.
Right.
And you know what I'm saying? Like, I understand why people love Force Awakens. I get it. I even understand why people like Rise of Skywalker. I would like Rise of Skywalker if it had no baggage. If it was just a piece of crap movie that had no baggage and it was just supposed to be fun, sure, I'm down.
I was very satisfied with the Rise of Skywalker after
The
Last Jedi. But here's the thing. Here's the other thing too. That's not, and at the same time, while I am annoyed with Rian Johnson's choices for sure, you know who I put the blame on, really. The blame belongs to Kathleen Kennedy, and
it's a producing problem.
Yeah, it's like, dude, where's your showrunner?
Without being toxic,
needed a showrunner.
Like, I know she's taken a lot of toxic shit online and stuff. Like, she was.
No, I'm not. But hold on.
I know you're not doing that. I know you're not doing that. I'm just saying for both of us, we're not doing that. We're not saying that.
Just to clarify, I'm not. It's not just her. I'm just saying in general.
Yeah.
The decision, but I'm saying this was her decision. The decision to not have the showrunner really just sort of like, you needed your Kevin Feige, and you didn't have that for this series. And that's where if I have to give any kind of accountability to her, it would be that. Honestly, that would be
like, I think I think a lot of people would agree that, like, you don't like The Last Jedi, right? But
here's the other thing.
I don't really think it's terrible, even if you don't like it. I think if you removed it.
I don't hate The Last Jedi. I think The Last Jedi is a very interesting film and does some very interesting things. The reason why I don't like it is because it doesn't belong there. It belongs somewhere else. It didn't belong as the middle part of the trilogy. You killed off Luke Skywalker when he's still alive.
I mean, the fact that they all just let it happen where the three of them never had a scene together.
Mind-boggling.
It's absolutely
mind-boggling.
How could they do that? Like, that's a producing problem. Like, a producer should have said, first thing, I want a scene where Han, Leia, and Luke hug. Is that so hard? It's been 40 years.
So that's my point. Like, I know she's taken a lot of toxic stuff, but at the same time, all I would say is, like, come on.
I'll tell you why I hate Force Awakens I said it the day I saw it, is when Chewie didn't hug Leia, I was pissed. I was
like what's that all about?
I was like, Rey? I have nothing against Rey, but I was like, she could hug her after Chewie did. I was like, this is a character we spent 40 years in love with, and he walks by her like nothing happened. But what about Solo was just murdered?
What about Luke Skywalker? What about Luke Skywalker when he sees Chewie and friggin' C-3PO in Last Jedi? It's the same thing.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. The trilogy is fundamentally flawed, and here's what I'm hoping. In the same way that they are fixing, or hopefully fixing the Snyder Cut with whatever, yada, yada, yada. I hope that, because they've spent way too much money for this stuff not to be canon at this point. But
it's canon, no matter whether we like it or not. So
maybe Jon Favreau is going to like sit there when they re-release these things, the extended whatevers, because they're going to do it. They're waiting. They're watching what happens on HBO Max. That's going to be really tell you where they're going to go with that ball. And then they get someone like Jon Favreau to come in and make things feel more cohesive, retooled in a way where we can at least sort of be more content than maybe we are.
I think I don't disagree with you, because I feel like in the last few years, you could argue everything Dave Filoni has done, Mandalorian included, but I mean the cartoons, they kind of make the prequels better. Like they actually, Dave Filoni saved the prequels somehow. Yeah, dude. And Jon Favreau kind of saved Star Wars rep. So it can be done sort of retroactively to make all of it work. Yeah, but I kind of checked out a little bit from Star Wars, to be honest. Like, so not that I still obviously love the OT, and I'm a prequels defender. Not that they're good, but at least they're trying something different. How's that? That's what I always say.
I want to bring this back to WandaVision, because honestly,
we need to,
because I'm loving this conversation. This is just, you know what this is? You know what this really tells me?
Yeah.
This tells me that I have to have you on my show in the future to talk about something else.
I'm down.
So
I'm down.
But I want to say one thing about the prequels. I don't mind. I don't hate on the prequels as much as everybody else hates on the prequels.
Yeah.
I do, however, or I am always kind of interested in the concept of, I would love to see some guy who's really good at that stuff take, stuff from the prequels and sort of combined it either into 1 2-hour movie, like something that really truncates, like takes the best stuff.
Didn't Topher Grace do that or something? Wasn't there
did he do that?
Wasn't that something he did, or did he do it with Lord of the Rings? I can't remember.
I don't know, but I would love to see them after, you've heard this idea. I don't know if you're familiar with the machete cut and what it is.
Yeah, of course.
I love this idea of like, you find out who Darth Vader is, and then you go back and learn how he became Darth Vader. And then you finish things up with Return of the Jedi. But instead of getting lost in 3 prequels, why not have this, like, I wish there was like this truncated, like, extra long movie that is just like prequel. And then you go, oh, that's why things are the way that they are. Cut out some of the stuff that doesn't work, because there's a lot of stuff that doesn't work, and keep all the really good stuff and yes, you see that 20 years later, people are starting to not hate on the prequels so much. You start saying,
I think a lot more honestly, after J.J. Abrams kind of got his hands on that, I think that some people like me are like, I kind of prefer badly executed new ideas to exquisitely executed rehash.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to. Like, which one do you prefer? Because the sequel trilogy is gorgeous, and it gives you a lot of that feel and texture that we all missed.
Yes.
Because the prequels, they look like the prequels. They don't even look good.
They look terrible. They look terrible. Really, really, really terrible. But HD cam does not hold up.
They look awful.
Got to shoot on film, George.
Right. But they're executed. There's some terrible acting.
Yeah.
But the ideas and what they're doing, it's different. It does not feel like the original trilogy at all.
No.
At all. It's like foreign. It's weird.
No.
Like talking about like Last Jedi versus Rise of Skywalker. Like, it does not fit. And I kind of like that now. And maybe it's my age or something, because I didn't at first. I hated them just as much as everyone else. And now I'm like, kind of dig some of the stuff they're doing more than, blowing up a planet again with a Death Star. Okay.
I know, that was really stupid. All right. So anyway,
WandaVision.
That's why WandaVision. WandaVision.
Right.
But here's what's so cool, because it's like, here's the other thing that I love about Marvel. We talked about how Star Wars is shitting the bed to a certain extent. here's where Marvel is just crushing it. Not only do they land this massive ship with Avengers Endgame and Infinity War, or Infinity
to
War
a point
Endgame,
where it felt like pop culture almost like hit a peak. That's
right.
how good
it was.
did it.
It was just so perfect. And you know what's great too? Like the movies, the scope of the Marvel universe has grown. It went from just being in like, conflicts on Earth to being these intergalactic conflicts.
Just we're in like Marvel Cosmic territory now. It's Marvel Cosmic. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. They were in Marvel Cosmic territory. And you know what you ended up getting? You're getting a lot of the interstellar wonderment that you love about Star Wars is now in Marvel.
Well,
in the way you're traveling from this place to this place to this place,
Jeff, like I kind of would say if you took out like Solo or something like that, Guardians of the Galaxy films are kind of my favorite Star Wars movies of the past like 20 years. Like, you know what I mean?
I dig it.
It has all the same like beats and some of the same character vibe. And I'm like, James Gunn kind of did it better than you guys did it all. Like,
give him a Star Wars movie. Shit,
it would be great. You know
what? Give him. I got to tell you, put Favreau in the hot seat and just let him run things. And then Favreau goes, "Hey, James Gunn, get in here.
Yeah,
take care of this. Like that kind of thing." I think, and those dudes would totally work well together. It would just be, it would be gangbusters. But so here's the thing. So you peak with the culmination of 22 films with this 2-part juggernaut that just has all the characters in it and doesn't feel bloated at all. Like everything fits together. You don't even need to establish anything. You are expected at this point. You know where things are at. What are you going to do after something like that? WandaVision, like take us. It's like, how do you continue to tickle?
Far From Home, then WandaVision.
Well, Far From Home, right. But what I mean by that is, how do you continue to tickle the pop culture sensibilities of your audience that have literally been sensationalized,
have orgasmed all over themselves?
Basically. Like how can you do that? It's like, there's no movie that's going to show up those last 2 Avengers movies. Let's do a TV series. But not only are we going to do a TV series, let's do a TV series that pays homage to the nostalgia that our audience loves from their childhood. And so they start and they parody everything. And I think my favorite episode was the Halloween episode, obviously. But or for me, I don't know, personally, I love
I was gonna say, just hearing your shows, I was gonna say it's not a hard guess.
Yeah.
It's honestly, it's a great episode, and it's probably my favorite too. So,
but just the details, like for instance, the plaid shirt in the Full House Family Matters. You know what I mean? Like they got the production design was so perfect, and really what was excellent was the Malcolm in the Middle.
I was not expecting that. I tell you something, when that happened, I felt like, because Malcolm in the Middle was a really formative show for me. It really was.
Dude,
like,
me too.
Yeah, like super
freaking love that.
Love that show. So when to see something that huge actually call back, it made me say like, oh wait, are we as a culture finally acknowledging that Malcolm in the Middle was truly great? Like for the first time, I felt like somebody was saying it, because the damn thing wasn't even available for like 15 years on DVD.
Just the first season.
Yeah, it was just the first season. Now it's all on Hulu,
which I bought.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to revisit that show. Actually,
it's still great. It's hilarious.
I can't.
Bryan Cranston is incredible in it.
Of course,
way before So that felt like kind of an affirmation of my childhood that I was never expecting.
Like it was just, I was not expecting that to show up, and then all of the time, I mean, there were just so many little flourishes and Easter eggs and things, just down to the way that they're, again, in the Halloween episode, probably the most obvious thing was the on the nose. We're going to do the classic Scarlet Witch and Vision costumes.
Sure.
Our children are going to, one child is going to be Magneto. The other one's going to be Quicksilver, in addition to casting the same actor, but have him turn out to not be.
Actually see Evans as the classic Quicksilver,
right?
Different universe in a different show in a different franchise. Incredible. I mean, is it fan service? Yes, but is it good fan service? Does it have a point? I think it does.
Is so bad? What is so bad about fan service? Like, why? Like, I don't understand why people rally against this concept of like, don't you dare lean on fan service. Like, why not?
I think people generally assume that fan service is cheap, no matter what. Fan service can't have substance. And I disagree. I mean, obviously we both disagree. Because I mean, Marvel, the MCU itself from day one is fan service. Iron Man wasn't even a top tier character at first. That was literally a fan service for Iron Man fans. He was not a famous character. Like, no, he was. But I mean, my grandma, before she died, loved Iron Man. That's how big Iron Man got from the movies.
Well, I mean, it exploded. It exploded.
He became the most popular superhero in the world for 10 years. What I'm saying is, like, MCU itself, every ounce of it has been fan service. It is. So when they do it, I don't know why. If you're coming for that, why are you mad about it? When they dive deeper, I don't.
You know what it is? It's in the same. It's like this. It's in the same way as in, when someone says, "What makes a good band?" What is it about a bit? Like, you could say 1,000 things,
right?
That like, or what makes a successful band? I should say. You could say 1,000 things about what makes a successful band. Oh, this is a successful band. And it's like, well, what about good songs? Just what about good songwriting?
Right.
Like, just write a catchy song.
Right.
Like you could be. If you don't have catchy songs, then all that other stuff, goes out the window. And so, like, if you're not doing fan service, like, here's the opposite of fan service, in my opinion. X-Men comes out. Instead of putting them in outfits that were reminiscent of the comic books,
they make fun of it.
They're going to be we're going to make fun of it, and they're going to be in all leather.
Dude, that angered me back in 2000.
Oh, it made me so mad.
It made me mad.
Was like,
yeah.
I was like, why? I was like, I don't want this. I don't like, I didn't, this doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't feel, and that's why the Marvel Cinematic Universe works so well, because they don't try and walk away from their roots. They full on embrace it to the point where they're like, well, listen, let's just adapt Civil War. It's a great concept. It's very complicated. Let's simplify it a little bit and do that. Like, that's a great idea.
WandaVision is a great example of the ongoing thing the MCU has done, which is give me things I never thought I would actually live on this earth to see.
Yeah.
The fact that I've seen like Hulk and Thor fight on screen in an arena, I can't believe that I lived to see that. I can't believe that I lived to see. I can't believe. I mean, picking up the hammer. I can't believe I even saw a Guardians of the Galaxy movie that exists. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
I saw Howard the Duck again. What? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
what about this? What about this? Just the fact that I remember for years and years and years, just thinking in my head, like, who would make the best Captain America movie? Fucking Joe Johnston, because.
Yep.
Because the Rocketeer was Captain America. Like, I always thought in my mind, I always fantasized before the year 2011. I would fantasize and say, "Oh, dude, like, imagine Joe Johnston doing, when you used to do like the hot takes of like taking things that already existed and saying that they were actually this thing because it's the closest approximation, like, even making this sounds really ridiculous, making the most a ridiculous claim that in for some strange reason Drag Me to Hell is Evil Dead 4, even though obviously it's not Evil Dead 4.
Hey,
just in the sense
that she saved the cat. No,
yeah. But just in the sense of like this is the closest thing we're ever going to get to Evil Dead 4.
Yeah.
And yada yada yada. So this is Sam Raimi's Evil Dead 4.
It turned out it wasn't.
No, it turned out it was not.
It was not, but until the show, it was an awesome Evil Dead 4.
Right. Yeah, especially when they go to the cemetery and you're literally getting
so good.
You're getting that little piece. And it was the same thing with the Rocketeer. It's like, I don't have a Captain America film apart from those crappy 80s Captain American films.
Man. And they're fun, but they are a sit, man. They're a sit.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
there was that one with the red skull that is just so bananas, and there was like a rat that's a red rat skull. Like it was just crazy.
I used to rent those VHS tapes, and I don't know. I don't even know how I sat through them as a kid. But yeah, they're fun.
I love that.
They're fun. Yeah.
But
like the Fantastic Four movie, the Roger Corman one, I love that.
Well, I never, you know, it's funny. That was not something I grew up with as a kid. I could never get a hold of it. I could never get a hold of it. But I remember seeing screenshots of the Thing and being like, "Whoa, there's a live action Thing!" Right. Like so blown away.
He looks like he's covered in caramel popcorn.
Yes, it does. But this idea that like the Rocketeer was like that was Captain America.
Yeah, no,
and it's like
the tone is it's so good. It's so perfect. Yeah.
And then we actually got that. He actually did that movie. That was a fan idea that actually came true. That blew my mind. Like also, that I still talk about it to this day.
I felt like Cap 1 was also like for Joe Johnston was finally like it was like a journeyman director finally getting a name. You know?
Yeah.
Because Joe Johnston, he's made a lot of great movies that I truly love, but I don't feel like he's ever been a household name until
didn't he do Jumanji?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that gave him kind of the name that he deserved after all those years, you know, because he kind of has been a journeyman director that people don't really talk about. But I mean, since then, I guess he's had a rocky start, but you know, whatever.
he really crushed that Captain America movie. He
did
perfect film. And you know, I just, if anything, I'm just like, I'm like, where, how else are you going to like satisfy us? Oh, here's the show that you didn't even, and that's the other thing too about WandaVision. I didn't know I wanted this show. You know how you always hear that? Oh, you don't know you wanted it until you had it. Like that was exactly like I waited. I was like, I'm just going to binge this after, because I kept hearing the buzz. And then I hit episode 5. I was like, this show is just.
I didn't know that I wanted Vision this badly.
Yeah.
Now I'm a defender of Age of Ultron. I actually
really made me want to go back and watch it because I had it's been so long since
I know people hate it, but I view Age of Ultron kind of okay. I view it like Star Trek 5, which is it's a bad movie. The plot is a mess, but the character moments are exquisite.
Maybe that's why I never had a problem with it, because even in a bad Marvel movie, even you know, it's funny though. Here's the thing, Bob, I'm never watching a Marvel movie for the plot. I'm always watching it for the character moments. That's what allows
absolutely the same.
Dude,
I watch movies for character moments, not for plot. Usually, that's how I watch.
Generally,
that's why I come back to stuff. Usually, that's why I love it. You know,
I've often plots
are great. They're fine, but they don't bring you back. They don't bring you back.
No, not really. No, I would say no. And I would also just say that like you can't go. You're not gonna. You're never gonna scrutinize a Marvel movie for a crappy plot, because it's just like it's a comic book movie. You're doing a comic book thing. It's that. This is why I never understand.
Tell me, Age of Ultron doesn't feel like a summer special comic book.
That's it.
It's like mess. But those were messes. Honestly. Yeah, those were always.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, but who cares what the plot? It's the same thing like this. And this is a whole nother show that I cannot get into right now. But I am an ardent defender of Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. Okay, I've always been.
You know why?
Since the 90s, I've never had a problem with these films.
I originally I don't know what age. What's the age difference here? I don't know. Do you even talk about?
I'm 35.
Oh, I'm older than you. Okay, I'm 38. I didn't know that. Okay,
there you go.
I thought we were a little closer, but
3 years.
That's not bad. I didn't like those movies when they first came out, but I was not as mature as I am now. And I go back and I watch them, especially Batman Forever. And I'm like, what's wrong with this? I was like, this is Adam West writ large. You know, it's just like, and I kind of love Joel Schumacher for the balls that he had to do.
Yeah, dude. Joel Schumacher is a genius. And what he does with those movies.
I love his films, man.
You know, it's funny. People, I'm shocked that you actually consider the Batman Forever to be Adam West. I think when I think of Batman and Robin, I go like, why do you hate this movie? It is literally a 90s adaptation of Batman 66. They were literally in the 90s. All they were doing was remaking things from the 60s. They did it with the Brady Bunch. They were just doing this constantly.
I love
what's the problem with doing Batman? Like they did Batman like that.
I think it's contextual. I think at that point, you might have wanted that, but I don't think people wanted that. Remember in the comics at that time, it was like Frank Miller. And then you had the juxtaposition of Frank Miller versus this. You know what I mean?
But at the same time, when at that time, I didn't think of it as an adaptation of Batman 66, but I still enjoyed it. But as I got older, I just always I'm a big Batman comic book reader. I read from Nightfall in 1991, I think, all the way up to Batman R.I.P. in 2009.
Look, man, we're yin and yang. I'm a Superman guy, so we're yin.
Are you really?
Here. I'm a huge Superman guy.
Here.
Superman's like my favorite superhero.
Oh, dude, we have to have this conversation some other time. That's a great
talk about WandaVision.
Yeah. Anyway, back to WandaVision for a minute. Let me finish my one point about Batman.
Go ahead. Sorry.
My point is that like people are like complaining about Batman Forever and Batman and Robin because this ties into what I'm saying about the Marvel movies. I guess I just have nothing negative or really to say about the Marvel movies because they're just great. They fucking work so well. Batman and Robin and Batman Forever. It's like, what's the plot of Batman Forever? The fucking Riddler wants to read everybody's brainwaves and like control all knowledge. Oh, wow. That sounds exactly like a Batman comic book. What's the problem? And in Batman and Robin, Mr. Freeze wants to freeze the earth. Poison Ivy wants to have a garden. Okay.
Not to mention, if you go, to watch it now, they're hilarious.
They're hilarious.
It's not just the plot. They're
so campy.
It's the funniest thing Schwarzenegger's ever done.
He's so wonderful in it, dude. They both are, man. It is phenomenal filmmaking. And the other thing too, just from a standpoint of like, from a filmmaking perspective, the openings of Batman Forever and Batman and Robin are so action-packed, edge of your seat, glue your eyes to the screen, action, balls to the wall action. Like, how could you hate on Joel Schumacher?
No, Schumacher is the best. Like he got hit. Those movies ruined his name for some reason, but the man was always an awesome filmmaker.
Lost Boys.
Yeah. But what I was going to say, can I recommend another YouTube channel real quick that you should watch?
Please.
I don't know if you've heard of him, but Patrick Willems. Have you heard of Patrick Willems?
Did he do a thing defending Batman Forever?
He made a video defending Joel Schumacher's Batman.
Yes, I saw those videos, and he was talking about what essentially, and I totally 100% agree with what he's saying. Yeah. He essentially was just saying, like they were casualties to just homophobia and the idea of like.
I never, and you know what? I needed that said because I hadn't thought about it since I was a kid. When 100%. I was a kid, I didn't even understand that, but now I understand it, and he's totally
even
right.
Still, separate from the fact that Joel Schumacher was a gay filmmaker, separate from the fact that Batman has a lot of homosexual subtext to it. There's a lot of gayness in Batman. Wonderful gayness in Batman. You know what I'm saying? Like, all this stuff that's there.
Give me the gay.
Right. But put all those things aside. The idea of complaining about nipples on a bat suit when, from a production design standpoint, we're going to make it look like a friggin' Roman statue. As a young boy, when I watched it, that's all I ever thought. I was like, it's just a Roman statue. They're just making them look sculpted. Who cares about nipples?
But also, it's a misunderstanding of what the point was. Joel Schumacher's other movies aren't like that.
At all.
Right. You can watch his other films and nobody would be like, well, this was made by a gay man from the 90s. No, they're not. That is not. He made those movies in a style that he chose to honor the past Batman that he loved.
Yeah.
It had literally nothing to do with his sexual orientation. And homophobia contributed to that narrative that they were like that. Those films were like that because he was gay. It's wrong. It is wrong, and it was wrong. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's a weird thing. I can't. But WandaVision.
Well, what is the future? What is the future now? I have to tell you, I love the reveal that what's her face is Darcy is a witch. That was fun. I was like, cool. But I have to tell you, the overall ending, I kind of shrugged my shoulders again, love the show top to bottom. Really, this is not a complaint, but the ending left a lot to be desired for me. For as awesome as the show was, I thought the ending was a little underwhelming.
I think the problem was build. It has something to do with pacing or build with the actual episodes and what happened in them.
Okay.
It started slow and it snowballed to a degree that was unthinkable. And then the last episode couldn't deliver on that momentum.
It just did not deliver
on paper, like script wise, I think it closes all the needed arcs that we needed to close, like character wise and everything. But there is a feeling of momentum loss, and I don't know why. I can't fix it myself. You know what I mean?
No, neither could I. And again, I'm really missing. Hey, Disney, I am so not complaining. Like, you did great.
Right.
Like, I'm happy. Like, good job. I'm just simply, but when I think about like, for instance, here's a great example. There's let's see, I just found this article. Actually, this is what I do on my show. I like to use I
can see them in your glasses.
Yes, that was me searching for them, by the way. I was not just scrolling on the internet. Let's take a look. So let's take a look here.
7 unanswered questions.
Let's look at 7 unanswered questions and see
sure
what's what. Okay. Are Billy and Tommy still alive after WandaVision? In the second post-credit scene of WandaVision episode 9, Wanda is seen in a remote cabin living a seemingly idyllic life while using her astral form to study the Darkhold, the ancient Marvel book of dark magic and sorcery. And, that was not really made clear to me through
that's the book that was missing from Doctor Strange.
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, remember the missing book? That's the missing book.
Totally.
They have roadmaps for this shit.
Of course they do. Of course they do.
They do. Yeah.
As she's studying, Tommy and Billy's voices can clearly be calling out for help. So what's interesting is she created Tommy and Billy, but what they seem to be is, or perhaps what they are fragments of her mind via the Mind Stone, in the same way that Vision, technically, from the way I understood it in that final episode, Vision lives on inside of her head
because she has a piece of the Mind Stone. Hence, he is part of the Mind Stone too.
Right.
So, and also, I think it might say this. I can't really read it on my screen, but she says to the children, "Thank you for letting me be your mother," or something of that nature, which implies they had a choice, which implies they have sentience to some degree. I don't know. With the way the show was written, every line that's said by every character makes it feels like it's alluding to something. So that line seems like, why would you write it like that unless it had a second meaning,
So here's what it says below that you can't read. I'm going to just go through this. It says, so are the twins still alive somehow? It's possible in a few different ways. Because she looks up shocked, but it says she looked up shocked, but she really looked up like she was mad, like a mama bear who was mad that her cubs were in trouble. In the comics, so I guess maybe I was wrong. It wasn't Magneto that he was dressed up for Halloween. He was dressed up as Wiccan. Their Speed and Wiccan are reincarnated after their first tragic death, though it takes them a long time to rediscover their connection to the Scarlet Witch. That sets the precedent for their resurrection in the MCU. But it might look a bit different this time around. One theory holds that Nightmare, an ancient evil force from the comics, will be a primary villain in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which I'm super stoked for.
Dude, Raimi.
Raimi is God. We got a Campbell cameo in that as well. It's going to be fun. Nightmare rules the dream dimension, and since Billy and Tommy were essentially constructed as an elaborate dream, it's possible that they wound up there after the hex dissipated. The three of them, her family live inside of her somehow. And I think maybe if she gets more powerful, she'll be able to sort of remanifest them, because at the end of the day, how could she have children with Vision? She sort of is like
it implies that the Mind Stone, unlike the rest of the town and everything that was happening with the rest of the town, the Mind Stone actually gave real form in some degree to all three of them.
Right.
Like, I assume my guess would be that now that White Vision, while he does retain all the memories, he does not have a soul, quote, soul. they are just memories to him. He doesn't know the connection.
We have to talk about that. We have to talk about it. I have a great thing for that too. I pulled up. Yeah, go ahead.
I assume that the Mind Stone within her will one day in the future reconnect those three beings to some form of their original humanhood or personhood. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Well, here we go. Where did the Vision go?
Where did the white Vision go?
Also, easily my favorite scene in that episode, maybe the show.
Maybe we should go to that real quick before. So neither is the true ship. Both are the true ship. This was mind-boggling. I had heard that the ship of Theseus, paradoxical, whatever you want to call it, sort of idea before. In a way,
I posted on Twitter today in reference to this. I posted the beginning of John dies at the end with the axe.
Yeah,
because that's basically the ship of Theseus. Is it the same axe?
Oh, wow.
Remember the beginning of John dies at the end, or of the book, if you remember the book?
No, I never read the book. I saw the movie.
He broke the handle, chopping a man's head off. Then he bought a new handle.
The guy who turned into the meat man, or the
right. That's And then he cracked the handle, bought a new head for the handle, and then the zombie shows up. He says, "That's the axe that killed me with." And then the movie says, "Is he right?"
Well, it's funny. On a much deeper level, the human body replaces every cell in your body every 7 years. I don't know if that includes brain cells, but supposedly it's every cell in your body. The only thing in your body that is with you from the day you're born to the day you die and never changes are the lenses in your eye. Those are hard lenses that don't, or something like that. There's something in your eyeball that stays with you and is a part of you and was there from the beginning there to the end. Everything else on you is replaced over time. And so there is the Jeff who was born going to be the same Jeff who dies.
Only if you live to be 6.
Yeah, right. Only if you live to be 6. Exactly.
Yeah, right.
And so that's what's so great. That's what's so interesting. So let's go to what the theory is. Hold on. Let me pull this up. So for anybody who's not familiar, they talk about the ship of Theseus. To most comic book fans, these roles are extremely black and white. The heroes are good. The heroes are the good guys and the villains are the bad guys. But as the Marvel Cinematic Universe grows and evolves, these definitions get a little fuzzy. Now we have to think about what makes us consider actions as good and evil, like holding an entire New Jersey town hostage in order to escape trauma. In academics, this field of study is called ethics. It's just one facet of the many philosophical concepts in the Marvel MCU exhibited in the past, but it's never been explored like this. Well, this is actually interesting. I can't read all this now, but there's a whole thing here. It's the Avengers and ethics, and it shows how each character encompasses a different set of ethics. Tony Stark is the utilitarian. Utilitarianism is the pragmatic definition of good, in that whatever does the most amount of good for the most amount of people is the morally best choice.
A shield of armor over the entire world.
But also the snap when he goes, I am Iron Man, and kills himself to save billions.
Right.
Diametrically opposed to Stark in Civil War is Steve Rogers, who takes his title of Captain America incredibly seriously. White describes his morals as, I'm going to butcher this word as I do often on my show. Maybe you can say it. I don't know if you could read that.
Deontology.
Thank you. Deontology.
Yeah.
Which is the practice of prioritizing duty above all else, regardless of consequences. Basically, deontology is doing what's right.
Jeff, what is his phrase? It's we don't trade lives.
Yeah, right. He says that.
The writers have thought about this.
Dude, he says that in Avenger Infinity War when they're talking about Vision, when Vision's like, I'll sacrifice myself.
We don't trade lives. Yeah. I mean,
dude.
It's not like the writers haven't gotten these characters down in these movies. They do.
They do. Then there's the strange case of Thor Odinson. Thor doesn't live by any formal code of ethics like patriotism or duty, nor is he as pragmatic as the utilitarians. He lives by his own virtue ethics. Apparently, growing up in as an Asgardian gives you a deep sense of trust in yourself. And while this can lead to impulsive behavior, like perhaps a post-blip weight gain, it goes to show just how strong a conscience it takes to live outside of a formal ethical system.
Thor's my personal favorite because he just is in the MCU.
He's great.
Right. And I think that what's interesting about Thor is that he doesn't read as a moral character, but he's also completely moral. Like he just doesn't read as one. And the fact that we can always trust him as long as he's wielding that hammer until, of course, it breaks. But you know what I'm saying? Like it's a weird thing where you can always trust him. And because of the hammer, he doesn't have to act like surface moral. He can act.
Ragnarok was like phenomenal.
Well, absolutely. I mean, Ragnarok fucking rules, dude. Yeah. It's great.
So great. Yeah. So then it says identity metaphysics in the MCU. Identity is a huge issue for superheroes. Take away the suit of armor and what are you? Asked Cap to Tony, questioning his identity outside of his own creations. There's also the issue of secret identities, like when Peter Parker deals with hiding his powers from his classmates. A quick thing about Peter Parker. The genius, I think you'll appreciate this, Bob. The genius of Peter Parker is that whatever Spider-Man wants is always diametrically opposite of whatever Peter Parker wants. And Peter Parker will always lean towards whatever Spider-Man wants, even though it's going to make Peter Parker's life suck. And
I mean,
that's what makes
my personal favorite Spider-Man film is Spider-Man 2. And I think that's the exact theme of that whole movie. Is it not? I mean, that's what the basis of that whole movie is. So.
Yep. It most certainly is, which was also taken from Spider-Man number 50, or at least partially, when after 50 issues, Spider-Man decided he's not going to be Spider-Man anymore.
Right.
Dating back, well, blah, 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 blah. This is going to go into, okay. Oh, actually, no, this is the meat of, this is the meat of it. So let's read this. But for Vision in WandaVision, the question isn't who am I without my powers, but who am I at all? Vision explains the paradox to White Vision through the ship of Theseus, asking whether either of them are even Vision if they've both been replicated in ways that deprive them of personhood, if they even had that at all. Dating back to ancient Greece and the time of Plato, the ship of Theseus problem supposes that there was an ancient ship kept in the harbor as a museum piece. As the boards rot, they're replaced by new ones. After many years, this is exactly what you're saying about the axe. After many years, every board is replaced. Is that ship still Theseus's ship? What if all the rotten boards were miraculously removed of their rot and reassembled? Would that ship also be Theseus' ship? It is this thought experiment. It's in this thought experiment, Vision is the replaced ship. While no part of him is the original Vision, he's the one who has replaced him both in Wanda's eyes and ours. White Vision is the reassembled ship as he was miraculously repaired. I mean, this is genius that they were able to plug these two things in together through a character like Vision. We're going to take
also they added some educational theory in there. You know what I mean?
We're going to take some deep philosophical shit,
right?
And we're going to inject it into comic book characters on a Disney TV show.
I learned this stuff. I paid to learn this stuff in college. So
yeah, so there you go.
Now just a Disney Plus subscription, and you can.
There you go. Yeah. Philosophically, the term "person" is hard to define in the MCU. After all, Thor isn't technically human, but he is in fact a person. If humanoid aliens can be called a person, why can't humanoid synthezoids? And if Vision is considered a person, and the other thing too is, why is this even an issue about whether he's a person or not? Like, I feel like everybody embraces Vision for what he is after he was like born in Age of Ultron.
The very act of him lifting Thor's hammer to actually introduce him, as genius as that moment is, also kind of grants him a soul.
Yeah,
it makes him a person.
Why is this? So
to be worthy, he has to have being. He has to be someone. Right. So he is a person. There is no question about it.
Right. So why even? Like, I guess they're like, well, we need Vision to struggle with something throughout the show, so let's make it this. But to me, it didn't work because he was always, or I never needed to go on this journey with Vision, because even though this was a cool concept, because he was always a person. I always thought of him as a person. He was like he had.
Let me throw this at you.
Sure.
I think we know that, and I think we don't need to be convinced of it. I think Vision does.
Okay, I can dig.
I think even from his inception, he still has doubt of what he is. He knows he is, but he doesn't know what he is.
Right.
I think in the end,
Frankenstein. It's the Frankenstein conundrum.
The only reason he didn't want to die for everyone in Infinity War is honestly Wanda.
True.
That's the only thing that was holding him here. He would happily have sacrificed the thing that he is for everyone. Right.
Yeah, it was his idea in the first place. Yeah. In fact, the scene where Vision and White Vision is sorry, I'm like the worst reader ever.
That's fine. Fact, I can't read it, so I'm just listening to you.
In fact, the scene with Vision and White Vision is philosophically interesting in a number of ways. In WandaVision episode 8, Vision explains how he's always been alone. Now he finally gets to be with someone who understands the sheer loneliness of being a synthezoid. So, of course, he's going to try and find a non-confrontational way of dealing with him. It's the first time he's been able to talk to someone who understands. Very good point. And lastly, this seems to be the bottom, as the bottom part, the future of philosophy in the MCU. Hopefully, I don't even think we need to read this actually, because who wants to read speculation? Now let's go back to our 7 unanswered questions. After a brief physical confrontation, the two Visions calm down and have a philosophical heart-to-heart, which we're not going to go into. Westview Vision explained to what, right? We already talked about this. Blah, 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 blah. He doesn't appear again in the episode. However, it leaves his fate a mystery. It seems that like New Vision, it's likely that this New Vision would want to spend some time alone and process what he's learned, but he'll probably come back later in phase 4, hopefully as a hero. I honestly thought the two were going to fuse together to make some more perfect Vision, as if Wanda's vision was the soul and White Vision is the body, and if they just fuse together,
they go incorporeal and
exist,
merge or something like that.
Then WandaVision could exist outside of the hex,
and then he would be Wanda's vision.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. No. It would have totally worked.
I think we're gonna get that. It's just not now.
Yeah.
Something like that's going to happen. Or, it would be even cooler that I wouldn't hate is if there were two Visions.
I mean, fine, but why not just do it now? Why not just nip it in the bud? Because that's what this was about. This is about resurrecting Vision.
I have trust in them that the way, even with the book, The Darkhold, which we're looking at right now,
right?
They have future plans, so they've got something in store for the reason for not doing exactly what you said, which is if this was the end of the road, there would be no way not to write that in, that they would merge into they would both turn incorporeal and just go loop become one,
or perhaps somewhere down the road, White Vision's going to do his thing and then he's going to get really damaged and Wanda's going to be there and be like, wait, here, take my WandaVision, and then she'll have her vision back, fully resurrected. Who knows?
It'll be like a Wizard of Oz moment. He'll get his soul.
Right. He'll get his soul.
Yeah.
So the Darkhold is only mentioned briefly at the end of WandaVision, but it will probably play a much larger role going forward. I mean, that's the thing. When you see stuff like these unanswered questions, it's really not that they're unanswered. This is just a clickbaity article. What it is it's just they're introducing new elements into their Marvel Universe story things, and they're getting introduced here. So there really is no reason to wonder what they are. They're what they are. All of them are Chekhov's, since we're talking a lot about writing. Chekhov's guns. That's what they are. Once we see them now, because they're going to show up later at some point in time. So I'm not even going to finish reading that one, because we know that that's exactly what it is. And, I can already see here. It's they're just
at this
writing
point,
for the sake of writing.
I can see how that would annoy some people at this point. As a fan of what they've done so far, I'm on for the ride. It might feel a little bit off, but I'm down. I trust you. Take my body where it must go.
Yeah, I'm in complete trust. I'm along for the ride.
Right.
It's asking what will happen to Sword in MCU. I'll be honest with you. I don't really care. I don't really. Yeah. Again, this is all plot stuff. It's I forgot that Shield ceased to be back in Captain America
I
Winter
think
Soldier.
Sword will become what Shield was. They kind of have a surrogate Shield now again, and it is from the comics, and they'll just kind of make that the new thing. You know what I mean?
What's up, Raphael? Thank you for joining us.
Hello. I mean, it'll function like that. You know what I mean? Like it'll have
yeah. I don't know. I'm not. I don't really. Okay, so here's one thing. Okay,
it's not very compelling. I'll be same. I agree.
What Sword?
It's not compelling.
Yeah, I don't really. It's
whatever. But look at the show. Look at the show itself. It functions as Shield did.
Right.
It totally is Shield. It's just not Shield.
So Monica Rambeau is still a member of the organization, and since she's confirmed as having a major role in Captain America 2, Sword could still be pretty important for few. I hate these speculation.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like give us facts. We don't care about your clickbaity, whatever.
Well, it's a clickbait thing, yeah.
Right. Monica also gets her own post-credit Shield scene where she's recruited for a mission by a Skrull, which is, and yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's Nick Fury is the one that's enlisting her. And again,
did you find it annoying that she didn't just say Nick Fury? Like, we know it's Nick Fury.
Yeah, that really did annoy the crap out of me. And we're we're still balls deep in the Marvel's universe at this point. Like,
just say it. We know who Nick Fury is. You said Sorcerer Supreme in the episode. We know who that is.
Right. Yeah. And right after House of M, right after Decimation, right after Civil War, directly after Civil War, we got something called Secret Invasion in the comics, and it was phenomenal. And basically what it is, Skrulls, since the beginning when they first met the Fantastic Four, Skrulls have been here the whole time, and they have been people that, like, for instance, people that we thought were dead aren't really dead. They were just taken away by the Skrulls. And at the flip side, people that were heroes on superhero teams in the MCU were Skrulls the whole time. And they get revealed, and there's a whole invasion thing. And Nick Fury comes back after not being, and it's not the Samuel Jackson Nick Fury, it's the Nick Fury from the comics going all the way back to the 60s. It's that OG Nick Fury with the Fantastic Four, Mr. Fantastic, white streaks in his hair, that classic Nick Fury look.
Frank Castle's best friend.
Right. Frank Castle's best friend. And, he's got this big gun. They're like, yeah, let's get it. Let's go. Let's get the Skrulls. And they're setting up for some sort of, which makes sense for phase 4 and it's going to be a lot of fun. Secret Invasion is going to be a lot of fun. And
I'm excited for it.
Coming.
Yeah, I can't wait for them to reveal people that we've already watched movies with were Skrulls the whole time.
See, that will be,
that's going to happen.
That will be so exciting. Well, people, mainstream audiences, just like with Walking Dead, just like with Game of Thrones, people are going to freak out at this sort of stuff. And only the comic book readers will be like, yeah, that's Secret Invasion. And that whole trip, that whole elitist trip. What exactly is the Scarlet Witch?
Here's something I found really interesting about the show is that, I mean, since Age of Ultron, we've known she's the Scarlet Witch. The reveal that she's the Scarlet Witch it's not a reveal, really.
No.
But they had to find a way to up her game and make her official. And I don't know if they could have done it better, but it sucks for them that it's not anything new. When Agatha goes, "You are the Scarlet Witch," it's kind of everyone just going, "Yeah, we know."
Well, here's
you know what I mean? It's not a bombshell, I guess.
Here's what's interesting. We said that, this is them doing House of M, but perhaps by doing WandaVision is laying down track for a House of M like event that may not be the House of M, or perhaps might be the House of M, considering that Scarlet Witch is still a player. We know what she's capable with her powers, and the X-Men haven't been introduced yet. And boy, I have a feeling they are going to nail the X-Men so well. It is going to be so good, and they're going to set us up. So an offshoot of the MCU is going to be just X-Men universe. It's going to be all this crazy X-Men shit, and that you get the Scarlet Witch in there.
I think it'll be a multiverse thing. I don't know if they'll do it in this universe.
Well, all I know is at some point they're going to introduce Magneto, and she'll do her own little snap, the snap before the snap. And, maybe we'll get some House of M.
So real quick before we move on, my theory a few weeks ago from all of this.
Tell me about some of these theories real
quick.
This
is mine. This is my personal one. And it's not actually about WandaVision itself. It's about the fallout from what WandaVision is setting up. I think I theorize that actually the next big bad in the MCU itself is Wanda. I don't know if that's even that dangerous to theorize anymore, but it makes sense to me because thematically speaking, we just had Thanos. That was huge. The Infinity Saga, it's over. It makes sense that the next big bad would be someone that the audience cares about, does not want to be harmed, feels sorry for, and is on the journey with. Right?
And
who can take the Avengers. She can take them.
Yes,
she has the power.
She has something she has something that she cares about that she wants back at the expense of everybody else, and it's her children and this other vision, and that could have
she's gonna like pave the road to hell with good intentions.
Right. Which is so much better. I mean, that's the thing. You know what made Avengers, Infinity Gauntlet, and Endgame, and this to me was obvious right out of the gate. What made them work so well? Really it was in Infinity War, because he's not the main character in Endgame. What made Infinity War?
He's the protagonist, right?
Yeah. Thanos is not only Thanos is the protagonist, and it's Thanos's story. They're all supporting characters in Thanos's story, and Thanos succeeds in what he does.
Infinity War, and I love Endgame, don't get me wrong. Infinity War is a great movie, and you know why? It's like it's a great Thanos movie, and right underneath of that, it's also kind of the second best Thor movie. It's like those two things in one, and that's why I love it so. But you're right.
It's how can you top Ragnarok, but like put him up against,
like Infinity War is a great Thor movie, and
because he has to make the new hammer,
Right, no, it comes down to Thor's the only one that could do this, and it's kind of like everyone else is really inconsequential. Even the characters on Earth have really no clue what's going on the whole time. It is down to like those two. So that's why that movie kind of stands apart from all the rest. It's a Thanos movie.
And I gotta hand it to Josh Brolin, who really
he's great,
embodied because at first I was a little turned off to the CGI Thanos at the very beginning, but the more I've seen Infinity War. I'm actually in the middle of watching it again right now because I came off of WandaVision and was like, I really need to watch Dawn of Justice because I got to prep for Snyder Cut. But I was like, let me run through. If you
do an episode on that, let me know.
Oh, I am most certainly doing an episode on that, and I don't have anybody to do it with. So
I will watch it. I have got hours to talk about Snyder. So
okay.
I find him extremely interesting.
Okay, can I just say I don't want to open this can of worms because we actually got to wrap this up.
Sure.
But I just want to say, let's get to the bottom of this article and we'll wrap this up.
Okay, sure.
A little bit more. By the way, thank you so much for doing this. It's wonderful to talk to you. Great conversation. You. And I feel
like we have almost too much to talk about.
We have too much to talk about, so we're just gonna have to keep doing this. You'll just keep coming on the Jeff Show. That's fine, if you ever need a body on any of your shows, you just let me know, man.
Absolutely,
I'll cut a rug anytime.
You're on my list. I'll put you on the list.
Cool. You do that. I'm always looking for people to talk to because, like I said, I literally need an excuse to go live as often as humanly possible because I figure the only way I'm going to reach my goals is if I just continuously stream live on YouTube as often as possible. So that's what
it's a good plan, man.
And you know what's funny? I don't know if you're familiar with this. You know how Nate was using Anchor to do his podcast. So I've started taking my live streams and I'm just removing the audio and putting it on Spotify and all those platforms as well as a podcast.
No, that's good. Good idea.
Get some cross marketing pollination there. I don't know.
I do the opposite. I take the podcast and then I put it on YouTube.
So there's so your podcast don't have this video element. You just do.
I made the YouTube is an afterthought, a backup.
So you are the absolute reverse of me. It's so interesting.
Yeah, but I started 9 years ago.
That makes sense. I was like, I want this to be, because you know what the problem is? I would always do stuff like this and create tons and tons of content, but then I'd be like, I have to edit it. and I want to have a certain level of quality, and I could just never ever fulfill the demands of the content. It just was too hard. I was like, I need something that I can
and hard drive space, man.
Right. I just need to do something where I could just go up, do the thing, stream it right to the YouTube, get a good looking thumbnail on it, call it a day. And this has been,
it's honestly something I'm probably going to look into in the future. So
StreamYard. If you have any questions about StreamYard, check it out. That's what you want. That's what this is.
Yeah.
This is StreamYard. Phenomenal. So what I was going to say is I love Zack Snyder. I really
okay. I wasn't expecting that. It's a rarity when you hear this from people. You know that.
No, right? I don't. I know that there are people got a lot of problems with him. They don't bother me. None of it bothers me. I absolutely loved Watchmen. Loved it.
I'm a defender of Watchmen. We are not popular with our opinion.
Okay, huge fan. Loved the Dawn of the Dead remake, except for the subplot. I'm assuming you saw that, right?
Oh yeah,
of course. The whole dog, except for the dog thing. The dog thing really bothered me. Where they have to go and rescue the dog. That is like, I just can't get behind that part. Otherwise, I thought it was a really fun re-envisioning. However, great example of a plot-driven movie versus a character-driven movie. Dawn of the Dead, all about the characters.
Dude, I'm stoked for Army of the Dead. I can't wait.
Oh, I cannot wait for Army of the Dead.
To me,
that's the Vegas one, right?
Yeah, and to me, I'm a fan of Zack Snyder as an auteur, but I have a lot of problems with what he's done. But to me, like Dawn of the Dead, but more so Army of the Dead is what he should be doing. I want him to make non-IP movies. I think I want his vision.
Yes.
On things that I don't hold so dear. I think that's
okay. I understand why you have. I understand where your feelings lie, and I totally respect that.
Right. Yeah.
Here's the thing.
It's not that I think they're bad. It's Man of Steel is a great
because you're a Superman guy. That's what it is.
Superman fan.
Superman. Yeah.
And Henry Cavill's an amazing Superman actor.
Yeah.
He's an amazing actor. I just have a lot of problems with the character.
What do you think about what did you think about Watchmen?
I mean, I am in the very unpopular opinion that I actually kind of think that the ending is neater than Alan Moore's.
Right. You mentioned that. You said that you liked Watchmen. Yeah.
I know Watchmen I'm a defender of. I think Watchmen it's not the book, but I think
masterpiece. It's a masterpiece, dude.
I've watched the director's cut a lot. I really love the director's cut.
Me too. And I'll tell you something. People hate on that movie, and I go, "Are you fucking kidding me?" This guy managed to tell this entire story in 3.5 hours. He does it. He weaved in so much detail and story, and basically showed us an entire universe full of characters. There are characters where it's the original version of Night Owl. We're supposed to know, he's establishing these incredible things and at the same time giving us an alternate history and then presenting different time periods. He is that movie so blew me away.
How's this? I'll say this. My love and absolute adoration for his Watchmen crosses over into him being perfect for Watchmen. Is he kind of, in my opinion, took everything he loved about that and just did it with characters he shouldn't have.
Okay, so here's my question to you.
Yes, I know.
We've seen that one. This is again. I'm literally gonna yank the chain back on this in 2 seconds because this is so dangerous what we're doing right now.
I know it's really dangerous,
but I have to say it.
Yeah.
How much, because we know what he was able to do with Watchmen, right? How much of what he did in the DC world, how much of that you don't like? How do you know that was his fault or was not his fault? And what was tampering and what was not tampering?
I was trying to, I'll be short.
Yeah.
I think Man of Steel is a very interesting and a good movie. I actually think Man of Steel is a good movie. If it was based on a different character that was exactly the same as Superman, I think I would be totally down with it. It's beautiful. It's the work of a checked auteur in every way. They let him do anything he wanted, and it is in some ways completely insane. But it also reads to me like it's Lex Luthor made propaganda against Superman, the whole thing, the entire thing. I love it. I love looking at it. I think the score is a masterpiece. It's a beautiful movie. The casting is incredible. It's not the quality that's the problem. In any, you know what I mean? It to me,
Gotcha.
it's
aesthetically you're satisfied.
Aesthetically, I'm satisfied, but I'm trying to may say this short, and it's making me stumble. In that movie, the one quality of Superman that I want in all Supermen, in all portrayals, is I want to feel safe around. if I see Superman, I want to know if I was standing next to him and he was talking to me, I'd feel safe. I know that all that power is well managed in a well managed mind that has no doubts. Zack Snyder's Superman is not stable, and he's emotionally complex, which I get why people like that, but I'm also like, it scares me. There's parts of that movie where I'm like, he's scary. I wouldn't want to be around him, and he's not.
Superman is also very much, people are always comparing Marvel and DC.
Yeah.
But Superman, the ideals of Superman parallel Captain America, right? Like in the sense of like
Marvel
pureness,
like they're not the same character, but
no, they're
it's
not.
Weird that with the combination of Thor and Captain America, I got my Superman from the MCU for all these years. Like I got like the purity and I got the physics of Superman from both of those guys, and DC didn't give that to me all these years.
Right.
But and Zack Snyder's the only guy I think so far to ever truly show what a Kryptonian can do with the powers on screen. Like you know what I mean? Like I feel like it's weird to me that he made Batman vs Superman, because if you watch Man of Steel, you're like, yeah, Batman doesn't have a chance. This is stupid. This is dumb.
Whoa. Okay, so now this is turned into Batman versus Superman, baby. Because I'm in the Batman side of things. I gotta tell you,
I'm always gonna be. I like. It's not like I don't like Batman. I love Batman.
No, but from what I can get, what I gather from what you're saying right now, the gist is that and this is true amongst comic book fans, like of our ilk, that it's always been. People always sort of stack things for Batman in a way because it's so interesting how a human can take on a god,
right?
That there's like I've thought this too, despite being a giant Batman.
I don't want them to fight. That's also the problem. I don't want them to fight each other. I don't want that. I want.
It really comes down to intellect. What it comes down to is the will of the human spirit versus someone with godlike abilities, and people find that very appealing. And people will weigh on the Batman side of things because of how stacked the odds are against him in terms of, and it's true. The thing that's often said about Batman is follows, and I think that this is true to the character, and I like this. It's this idea: given enough time and preparation, Batman can defeat anybody and do anything. I have friends so dangerous.
I have close friends who've made this argument for literally 20 years, and I've been the guy arguing against it.
Yeah.
In the end, though, I think at this point in my life, I'm like, I just don't want them to fight anymore. I don't want that movie. It's not about who can win. I don't care anymore.
See, I've always wanted this. I wanted this from the moment that I saw that.
Jeff, but my favorite thing in the DC universe is the two of them being best friends and fighting together.
Well, eventually they do become best friends, and I gotta be honest with you, I was pretty satisfied with Dawn of Justice. The Martha thing was stupid, obviously, but like I was pretty satisfied with Dawn of Justice in terms of like. The way they set it up, and then they had Doomsday come in, and he gets killed by Doomsday. They introduced Wonder Woman. I'm going, okay, they're kind of doing something here. I'm okay with this. Again, I'm not. Here's the thing:
Dawn of Justice is a different bag for me. Yeah, but
my point is they have. Well, isn't that Batman versus Superman is Dawn of Justice, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm saying as opposed to Man of Steel. Man, a Man of Steel actually intrigues me. I love Man of Steel in many ways, but Batman versus Superman is a different beast to me. shooting Jimmy Olsen in the head in the beginning. It's like, okay, so this is the movie we're doing. All right, gotcha.
They've fucked with Batman so many times at this point.
It doesn't right. Yeah.
That I'm just like, all right, give me another iteration. Because I've learned. Here's the thing, and maybe that's why it's more precious for you. You've gotten so few compared to me with my Batman. You've had what? You had Christopher Reeve, then you had Brandon.
I mean, Reeve. There's TV too. Brandon Routh,
but I'm talking about
dude, the current television show, the new one is incredible. The new Superman and Lois. It's absolutely one of the best. I've not
seen it.
It's amazing.
I love that animated series Superman was great.
I love that's one of my favorite cartoons.
That's like the best type of Superman right there.
Yeah, right. No, that's great. It's not that I try to I know people hate Zack Snyder. I'm not trying to throw him under the bus completely. I try to give him his due. There's, you know what I mean? But I think Henry Cavill looks like Superman. I want to see a movie where he is the one that we were building up to the whole time. I think that would.
I got to be honest with you. I never much cared. I never, maybe it's also because I just didn't have a horse in that race. I didn't think he was that great of a Superman, and I didn't really care what kind of Superman he was. I was there opening day on Man of Steel too, just to counter what I'm saying, my indifference. I wasn't even, and I got to be honest with you. I think Batflick was great. I thought he was fine. I thought he did a good job.
I got, Snyder's casting. I've never had a problem with. I don't have a problem with it.
See, I think that Henry Cavill was just kind of he's okay. I just didn't think.
Oh man, I think he's great, dude. But I think he's not good. He could be great. In other movies, I see the charisma of Superman, and it angers me that they're not in the Superman movies. Because I have an episode where me and my friends actually talk about Batman versus Superman the night we saw it. You would not want to listen to that. It is vicious. But in that, I say the line, he turned Batman into the Punisher. He turned Batman into the Punisher, and he turned Superman into Batman. And that angers me.
He is kind of the Punisher. He's kind of the Punisher in that movie.
You know what I mean? He you know how politically they always say everything shifted to the right?
Yeah.
He shifted everything to the right, and I'm like, there's no Superman in this game anymore, and Batman's just the Punisher.
Yeah, but Batman, but part of Batman's personality is there is some Punisher inside of Batman, a little bit.
Oh Batman's kind of like the Punisher if he just didn't go all the way. I mean, that's kind of what Batman is. That's not. It's just
no. I would disagree with that. He's the thing about Batman that I find so intriguing is the fact that it's a man. He is nothing but he's nothing but human doing superhuman things. He's honed his body. He's traveled around the world. He's become the world's greatest detective. He goes toe to toe. He straps a a mother box on his body, and lets Darkseid beat the shit out of him. And Superman, Batman, Public Enemies, #1, whatever that story.
I'm not disagreeing.
Great. I just love that his superpower is his will of being a man. I just think that's such
I'm down with it. I'm not, it's not, you don't have to defend Batman. I love Batman.
Right. No, I'm not defending. I'm
talking more like Snyder's take on everything and how he sees the world. The guy who made Watchmen also wrote those movies, and he didn't separate them. And that's my problem. And it's okay because people love them. And I'm not one of those people that says they can't have their flavor. You can have your flavor, your Batman, your Superman.
Bob, it's just a flavor. It at the end
of
the day,
I'd really appreciate another. After this, I hope we get.
I promise you're going to get one.
I do.
Stop. They're never.
Then again, like I said, that TV show is fucking great, so I'm kind of satisfied.
And what's funny when people say, Jeff, who is your favorite live action Batman altogether? And this surprises a lot of people, but I think the person thus far.
Let me guess.
Who do you think I'm going to say?
Val Kilmer.
Yes.
I mean, I kind of got that from earlier. But
no, I'm telling you though, his Batman and his Bruce Wayne are spot on, dude. They're just He is a phenomenal
you're not the only
Batman.
person I've heard people say that. Other people say
Dude.
that. So
he just fucking, even though Two-Face is such a mess in probably the messiest aspect of that. It's not the way Two-Face looks. I get super fine with that. It's just that he's so slapsticky. That's like the one.
He's slapsticky and he's like half Joker. He's like almost the Joker in that
he's
movie.
almost the Joker.
Yeah.
Like that's the one thing that sucks about that movie.
Yeah.
But you know, just the way that just when he calls him Harvey, when he's just like, Harvey, you need help. Like I'm just like, that's Batman. When he's talking to Dr. Chase Meridian and he's talking about like he's kind of letting her in, but he's also kind of, like, I'm like, that is Bruce Wayne. Like he nailed it. He nails it perfectly. And you know, I'm not a fan of the Nolan verse Batman.
Dude, we agree.
Holy shit.
We agree. I absolutely hate
what a fucking mess.
So I guess in a way, I've kind of just like low grade disliked DC movies since Nolan kind of came in the picture. I like a lot of DC movies. I actually really like Shazam, and I like Wonder Woman and stuff. But like
loved Wonder Woman, liked Suicide Squad was good.
I did not like Suicide Squad, but I liked aspects of it.
What else came out that was I loved, you're gonna laugh at me for this. I loved Aquaman. And do you know why I loved Aquaman so much? Because it was like Flash Gordon under the sea.
It was Flash Gordon and Masters of the Universe.
And I loved it. I was so happy. I was so happy.
How's this? I appreciate
Octopus
Aquaman.
Playing a giant drum.
I appreciate the silliness of Aquaman. I just think it's a little too long. It's really long. It's super long, but it did make $1 billion, so whatever. Yeah. Shazam's more my speed. You know,
I haven't seen it yet. I'm excited.
Shazam's, it's like a light comedy. You know what I mean? But it's also got aspects of like, you know, family and Superman and all that shit in there. So, but the Nolan movies I do not like. I hate the Nolan movies. I hate Lucius Fox as a character.
Okay. Batman Begins is okay.
That's the best one.
That one's okay, especially. But you know, I was really kind of stoked at the time when Batman Begins came out because I was like, oh my god, like they're harking in on aspects of the character that we've never seen in live action, like the way that he kind of stalks his prey and like comes down and comes up, and he's, you know, the fight scenes were really interesting.
But the third
act. Well, here's the thing: the over at the end of the day, the moment that Christian Bale opens his mouth,
it's awful.
I just go, what the fuck? And then in the Dark Knight, the moment that Harvey Dent puts a gun to someone's head and Bruce Wayne covers for him, I go, Bruce Wayne would never do that. The moment that Harvey Dent acted that way, he's on the opposite, because that's the thing about Batman. Batman is black and white when it comes to the law. He's uncompromising, like Rorschach, right?
It's odd to me that you'd say this, but be okay with Batfleck in the portrayal in the movies. Like Ben Affleck, Ben Affleck's good as Batman. I think he is. But his portrayal in the movies, I think, is just as marred as
it's a different iteration. I mean, listen, I'm okay with Michael Keaton's portrayal of Batman, and he kills people. But like, you know, what annoyed me about the Nolan Batman was
just the fact that Batman doesn't do anything. That Lucius Fox built everything. I hate that so much. Lucius Fox is the worst character in Batman lore ever. I fucking hate him. Like,
I'm not expecting this from you.
I mean, Morgan Freeman rules. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman's awesome, but like Batman in the Nolan movies, he's barely a detective. He doesn't build anything.
No, he's not. Yeah,
he quits for 8 fucking years.
So stupid.
It's so terrible. I'm like, why do I care about this guy? Sucks.
I could take it on. You could hunt me. Like, it's just so dumb.
And on top of it, I'm just gonna say it.
Frame me. I'll let them frame me.
I fucking hate his suit so vehemently. I hate the way Batman looks so goddamn much. It's so awful. It's such a bad suit, man. My God,
and you know what's funny? And you know what's funny? And then you go back and people are like, The Dark Knight, it's one of the greatest comic book films ever made. But like,
Heath Ledger deserved the Oscar. He did.
100%.
100%. No one's saying, if anyone's listening to this, we're not saying that.
Best thing about that movie is the Joker. And I've watched that movie multiple times because of the Joker, but not because of Batman. However, in Batman Forever, there's
really like Batman Forever.
Well, hold on a second. There's a whole scene. It's the only live action film where Batman actually does detective work. He's actually trying to figure out the Riddler's clues. You never see Batman do any deduction work in anything live action. He just doesn't do that. And the reason
it takes up too much screen time.
But the funny thing is that a huge part of the character is that he is a detective and the world's greatest one at that. And so that's why it just boggles my mind. I'm like, dude, they did everything good in this movie. And even I went back and I watched the fight scenes, like the way he fights, not in Batman and Robin as much, but Batman Forever, the choreography is great. It's great. It's a great Batman movie. It's a good Batman movie.
Do you understand anyone listening to your channel right now, hearing us talk about Christopher Nolan's Batman like that, and then hearing you talk about Batman Forever? Like, that's like the most unpopular fucking opinion. It's so great.
I just don't give a fuck because that's just
fine. No, I generally agree because I think people have a lot of people come to the light on Nolan's Batmans because Dark Knight Rises is a fucking travesty.
I watched it only one time in the theater. I've never watched it again.
Dude, it's honestly, like, I like Nolan as a filmmaker. I hate those movies.
Yeah. I like Prestige. Prestige is a freaking phenomenal movie.
Interstellar is one of my favorite movies of the last.
Love Interstellar. Decade, you know what I love about Interstellar more than anything? And it's such a hokey Hollywood concept, but it's so
the love thing.
This movie. Yeah, the idea that love is the most powerful force in the universe. And I was
it's
like,
also like ballsy,
man.
It's ballsy.
Yeah. Oh, but it's just fucking it.
But like,
so well
I don't hate Nolan. I just hate that it's like a producer problem for me. He should have never made Batman movies because he turned Batman into something else. Just how I view.
He turned it into something that interested him in the same way that Tim Burton focused on Rogues Gallery, like Batman Returns, which I love. Batman Returns.
Oh yeah, I feel like we've talked. Did we talk about it?
I don't know if we spoke about this, but it's not a Batman movie. It's the villain's movie. Batman is an afterthought, and that's because Tim Burton was like, "Oh, I got to do another one of these Batman movies." Well, oh my God, this Penguin guy is so much cooler than Batman. Oh, the Catwoman in this black spandex. Yeah, it's great, man.
It works.
And oh my God, does it work? Totally. And it holds up. Yeah. And it holds up even to this day. It holds up. And again, I think Keaton is one of the worst Batmen ever.
He's my favorite.
Oh my God. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Yeah,
Batman
dude.
would never, ever say that or do that. Ever.
He's still my favorite one.
You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
That's like one of my favorite quotes in movie history.
But you want to know something? But I can overlook that because I still think in those films, the real essence of those films and the character is the Gotham, the city.
Yeah.
And the rogues, obviously, too. But the Gotham itself is so wonderful that it makes everything in those movies work really.
They really have a vibe to them. They do.
Yeah.
I mean, Burton gave them a vibe, and they're more like, if it's funny how when they came out, when like Batman 89 came out and everyone was like, God, it's so fucking dark and gritty.
Right.
And now it's like you look at Nolan or Snyder versus that. Now that looks like Batman 66 comparatively. Like, you know what I mean? It's like it's so hokey, but I'm like, to me, that amount of both is the perfect for me.
One of the worst things about the sorry, I cut you off. Finish what you were doing.
No, I'm saying that you got it. So in one of the things we talk about a lot on my script podcast, is tone. And Jamie Nash, the genius Jamie Nash, he always talks about how when you're writing a script, a great way to choose your tone is to make a scale of Batman movies. You go all the way from Batman 66 and you write a timeline of every Batman versus tone from silly to serious. So you'd have like Batman 66 to Christopher Nolan. Probably Zack Snyder would be just before Christopher Nolan, somewhere around there. Lego Batman would be down near 66. You know what I mean? And you put them all there, and then you decide, where does my movie that I'm writing, my genre movie, on this tonal scale lie?
Wow, that's very interesting.
Because Batman's had so many tones.
Right.
Everyone on Earth can pick their favorite tone of Batman. It's like
That's why I'm saying when you were talking about like how you felt about some of the other Snyder films, that's the thing, that none of us should ever be upset about how these movies come out, because at the end of the day, we know two things. One, this is a valid, even if it's painful, technically valid in some way, shape, or form on the spectrum. And 2, they're going to do another version of this character because the character can be redone in so many different ways. One of my least favorite parts of the Nolan verse is the fact that they used Chicago as Gotham City. They literally just used, and I was living in Chicago. I knew people that worked on The Dark Knight. I applied to be a production assistant on The Dark Knight. I did not get in all the spots.
That's why you hate it. You didn't get the job.
God damn it. I didn't get the job.
Right.
No, but my point is that like, so when I saw it in the theater, I'm going, this is not Gotham. This is Chicago. And it looks like Chicago. And I was so taken out. Like, that's why those early Batman films, and especially the Schumacher ones, those films work so well because we are transported to Gotham City.
I'd even argue, I hate to give credit to Bryan Singer, but I'd even argue that Superman Returns looks like Metropolis. It does not look like New York.
I like Superman Returns.
I do. The character's intact. That's Superman. You could argue about the plot and a lot of the other stuff, but that's definitely Superman. That's the Superman I love.
Yeah, that was not that.
I hate Bryan Singer, but it's the Superman.
Yeah, well, we all hate Bryan Singer, but you know, listen. Right. And again, another huge can of worms conversation we don't have to get into right now is also the idea of, you know, there's different levels where we can hate the artist versus the art.
The art. That's like, way bigger than yeah.
But my point is just that like it's a lot harder to listen to comedy from a comedian that you should hate or that you might hate than it is to say a film and a filmmaker where it's like this thing that's where you don't have to see the director. The director's not speaking on camera, literally like seeing their face.
You can love Brandon Routh as Superman. It has nothing.
Right. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. So it's like there are different, because there are different levels of separation. So we can automatically go, yeah, fuck Bryan Singer. We all hate Bryan Singer. But that's Superman,
Superman Returns is, while it might not have been a knockout of the park success, or it might not have been even exactly what I want, I still really like it. And that is the Superman that was tailored to me more. You know, I wouldn't mind Zack Snyder visuals with that tone.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I want.
That's great. That would be a good tone.
That's what the new Superman TV show is doing. It's giving you Zack Snyder's visuals.
Man of Steel, which was technically produced by Nolan, you could tell they're like trying to kind of hedge their bets. They're like, we're coming hot off of the Nolan verse, which was well received with the Dark Knight and whatnot. We want to make sure we hit Superman out of the park. Let's lean in on the Nolan stuff, and that's why you don't get. It's not a campy Superman. It's a very realistic Superman, and I do love that Kryptonian mythology at the beginning of
it's cool.
It's a lot of fun.
If for as much as I like hate, I could talk about it for hours. I'm trying not to, but
yeah, we got to wrap this up.
Like I've watched it several times. I own Man of Steel. For as much as I hate Man of Steel, I love it. So you know what I mean? Like, I'm not a typical hater here. Like,
I get it.
I love Man of Steel. I also fucking hate it. A different part of my brain fucking hates it, like, a lot. And for several specific reasons. But like, I can't say I fall asleep to the soundtrack sometimes, man. Like, I can't say I hate it.
There you go.
So
one of the things that I hated more than anything in that film was when he and then you're probably going to give me some reason why that had to happen. Maybe that I'm not looking at it from a screenwriting perspective, but I hated it. That
when he let his dad die, it's fucking stupid.
It was the dumbest.
It's easily the worst part of the movie, without question. Yeah,
I thought you might be like, well, Jeff, actually, the reason.
No. That's terrible. That's like Zack Snyder's Martha moment for that movie.
That was an atrocious choice. Because I was like, there's absolutely no reason on earth. And I guess you would.
Zack Snyder did not sell it to the audience that needed to happen. It's just fucking stupid.
Absolutely did not need to happen. And was just it was like, we need to have this moment of sacrifice for him. And
honestly, it's funny. That's the problem. It's not just bad. It's funny. I remember seeing it in the theater and when he puts his hand out and he dies, and I remember people laughing. Like, it was that.
You want to know something? I felt way more pathos for him when he kills Zod, which I thought, probably the most powerful point is that here he is literally murdering the only other one that's like him because he won't stop killing people, which was just what a powerful moment. So anyway, WandaVision. So what happens, again, so I don't know. This was a one-shot series. where they're there's not going to be a WandaVision season 2, and frankly, I don't need a WandaVision season 2. This was what we affectionately call in comic books. This was a one-shot deal, and I was very happy with that. And what it is it's a connective tissue between big storylines that allows them to introduce a lot of little nooks and crannies that will play bigger roles later on. And
could you be more excited for Multiverse of Madness? She's going to be in it.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
I can't.
I go to every one of those. I see every one of, as I said before, it doesn't matter what the plot is. I'm going to go. I'm going to see it. Some of them I like more than others.
Because the MCU is a TV show. That's the thing.
And
it's
that's
a TV show.
Right. And if they could just do it, if they could just find, because here's the thing. It's not that I want cookie cutter cutouts for every single thing, but at the same time, I love Star Wars and I'm rooting for Star Wars. I love DC and I'm rooting for DC, but you guys need to get your shit together in the way that Marvel got their shit together. And you need your own Kevin Feige to do this sort of thing. That's ultimately the ingredient that you need to make these things work.
I firmly think that the MCU now is to teenagers or whatever age that Star Wars was to us.
Oh, for sure.
Star Wars is for sure. Star Wars lost its mojo in several ways, but I think it just can't compete to what the MCU did. And it's definitely, I think
22 movies culminated in a single film was the culmination of the 21 movies. Yeah. Kevin Smith has said, they asked Kevin Smith a question one day. They said, who's the greatest producer of all time? And, a lot of people, there were other people on a panel or something, and everybody gave these, all these, these
Jerry Bruckheimer and
stuff like that. And he goes, Kevin Feige. He's like, what? And he's like Kevin Feige, because he's like, that guy not only heralded 22 movies like in this grandstanding arc, but he had them all converse into a single film that was literally the best one and the most successful one and the most critically acclaimed one, all at the same time. And it was also the longest one. And it's just like,
it's an impossible feat.
It's an impossible feat.
We did an episode about the script to Endgame, and I said on there, I was like, you know what, Marvel and WandaVision's a perfect example of this because it's great and I loved it. But I was like, after this, Marvel owes me nothing. Like from this moment on, and if they have stumble, if they fall, which they have to because you just can't hit it out of the park like this.
Diminishing. I think it'll be diminishing returns,
right? And that's fine to me. That's fine. You can't. Endgame's a once in a lifetime chance, and they just can't do it any better than that.
They did it, and
they did it. And I'm like, they don't owe me anything. If Black Widow is like mediocre, fine. I'm fine with paying for it. They gave me so much in those 22 films. I can't.
Well. Two things though. There are two.
I'm looking forward to Black Widow. I'm just saying that because it didn't come out because of COVID.
Right.
But I mean that any movie.
You have three opportunities here, and we're going to end with this. There's three opportunities moving forward for them. I think they are Avengered out. They've done the Avengers. They did it perfectly. We really don't again, if they wanted to leave the Avengers where they lay, which we know that is not the case in a bunch of different ways, I would be totally happy with that. Where the three opportunities to shine in ways they have not shined up to this point. Fucking X-Men, as we spoke about, which is a whole universe in and of itself that is endless and just so rich with stuff, and they have the right sensibilities. And there's that. Fantastic Four is the next one. They could just endlessly Fantastic Four, and frankly, which they've already started doing, and they've just really nailed it. Spider-Man. They're doing it with Spider-Man. Spider-Man is great, even though I really liked Andrew Garfield, and I really feel like he didn't get.
He was an okay Spider-Man.
He was a good Spider-Man,
in my opinion. Two very atrocious movies. He was a great. He's a great Spider-Man, though. I'm not going to argue that.
He was a good Spider-Man, and I liked Emma Stone. Emma Stone was wonderful in those movies too.
Yeah. I just can't defend those movies. I like some parts of them.
Why did they freaking finish? God damn! I wish they would have just given me one more.
I know. It's a mess, but it's a total mess. I agree though with the three ways they could go too. Yeah. And you know what? Once again, all my favorite stuff has been done now.
Right.
Like you did it. You hit it out of the park. I can't ask for Were you gonna give me a better Thor movie? I mean, I hope Love and Thunder is gonna be amazing. It will be probably.
I think it's be great.
He's great. He's always great. But like, you did it. I mean, Iron Man 1 is a fucking classic.
Yeah.
You know, Cap is at least two great movies in there. I mean, you can't. I like or love every single one. Like, I don't hate any movie in that whole thing.
I don't hate any movie. If anything, it's indifference. Like Thor 2, which seems to be hated.
I like Thor 2. I like Thor 2.
I'm indifferent to it. It's like, okay, whatever.
Endgame kind of gave Thor 2 some juice back. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, like he kind of did. Yeah. Thor 2 is very earnest. It's not for a cynical world.
I'll tell you one thing. A lot of people hated on Iron Man 3. I loved Iron Man 3.
Yeah, I like Iron Man 3.
I enjoyed it. I don't know what the issue is. But listen, I am going to put a pin in this right now because we will never stop. Way too long. Bob, you friggin' rule.
Thank you, man.
Thank you so much.
Too.
Check out Bob's stuff. He's definitely going to be back on the Jeff show or some iteration of it in the future. Well, you know what we'll do? I will be in touch when the Snyder, we literally have like 2 weeks or less than 2 weeks. When the Snyder Cut drops, I'm going to refamiliarize I'm going to watch Man of Steel. I'm going to watch Dawn of Justice. I'm going to watch the Snyder Cut. And when I've done those 3 things, you and I are going to get on here and have a massive talk. Okay.
I'm down, man. Cause it is a big discussion. I might send you an episode of my show.
Oh, please do. I'd love to watch. I'd love to listen.
It's going to be vicious though. And it was years ago.
Okay. That's okay.
It's going to be vicious.
Apologize. You don't need to explain. Just send me the episode. I'll take a listen. I understand that your feelings have since changed as well. And that's it.
I enjoy BVS now. When I watch it, I don't hate it anymore. How's that?
Okay. That's great.
It's changed that much. So,
all right. Until next time, we have a very special way we say goodbye on the show. We say peace and peace and